to a ballyhooly Hollywood, where any office boy or
Hello, Hollywood. Welcome to today's Walk of Fame star ceremony. Thank you all for joining us to celebrate and honor Susan Stamberg. I would also like to give a shout out to our fans watching our live video stream presented by our media partner, Variety. I'm Rana Gadban, President and CEO of the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce, which is presenting this program. For today's Walk of Fame ceremony, we are honoring an extraordinary woman who's revered in the field of public radio. Today, Hollywood honors Susan Stamberg with the 2,690th star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. But before we invite her up to the stage, first let me tell you about our honoree. Susan Stamberg is a nationally renowned broadcast journalist and special correspondent for NPR. Susan was the first woman to anchor a national nightly news program. And has won every major award in broadcasting. She has been inducted into the Broadcasting Hall of Fame and the Radio Hall of Fame. Let's give her another big round of applause. As an NPR founding mother, Susan has been on staff since the network began in 1971. Starting in 1972, Susan served as co-host of NPR's award-winning news magazine, All Things Considered, for 14 years. She then hosted Weekend Edition Sunday and now reports on cultural issues for Morning Edition and Weekend Edition Saturday. As one of the most popular broadcasters in public radio, her thousands of interviews include conversations with Laura Bush, Billy Crystal, Rosa Parks, Dave Brubeck, and Luciano Pavarotti. In addition to her Hall of Fame inductions, other recognitions include the Armstrong and DuPont Awards, the Edwards R. Murrow Award from the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, the Ohio State University's Golden Anniversary Directors Award, and the Distinguished Broadcaster Award for the American Woman in Radio and Television. Congratulations, Susan. A native of New York City, Susan earned a bachelor's degree from Barnard College and has been awarded numerous honorary degrees, including a Doctor of Humane Letters from Dartmouth College. Susan has hosted several series on PBS, moderated 3 Fred Rogers television specials for adults, and appeared as a narrator in performance with the St. Louis Symphony Orchestra, the National Symphony Orchestra, and in Wendy Wasserstein Broadway production An American Daughter. Susan is well known among younger women and journalists of colors as an extraordinary mentor. She has been instrumental in organizing NPR workers. Her advocacy for women and minorities has been a core part of her career, and as a woman, I am so proud of being standing here today honoring you, Susan. Thank you. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome to the stage our honoree, Susan Stamberg. But before we hear from our honoree, we have two guest speakers who'd like to say a few kind words about Susan. Our first speaker is a Tony Award and 4-time Academy Award nominee, a 2-time Golden Globe and Screen Actors Guild Award winner, and a Walk of Famer. Most recently, she appeared in The Report, for which she received a Golden Globe nomination. Her many films include The Kids Are All Right, Being Joya, Life Itself, American Beauty, Bugsy, Postcards from the Edge, and Valmont. Please welcome to the stage Walk of Famer Annette Bening.
Thank you so much. What an honor to be here for Susan. And I think it's great you've got that chair there. That's very cool. I don't think I got a chair. I just went. Okay. Susan Stamberg is my hero. And not just because she's Josh Stamberg's mom, although that should be reason enough. Her curiosity, combined with her voice and the power of radio, that's what's brought her a zillion awards, and now she gets a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. I'm not sure if that's moving up or down, but never mind. I met her backstage after a performance of a play that Josh and I were in, and apparently I embarrassed you by calling you a legend. Well, I was right. You certainly are one. She was the first woman to anchor a nightly news program, and her voice is in the Library of Congress. The inaugural broadcast of All Things Considered was inducted into the National Recording Registry of the Library of Congress in 2017. In the radio category, only 28 women have stars in the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Most of them are actresses. Some are singers and vaudeville comedians. Only 4 have been radio hosts, and now Susan is the 5th. Among her radio host colleagues here in the Walk of Fame are Mary Margaret McBride, known as the... No, you all remember her. Known as the First Lady of Radio, who started hosting in the 1930s and continued on different networks for more than 40 years. And the famous gossip columnist, Luella Parsons, often feared and hated by the individuals, mostly actors, whose careers she could negatively impact via her radio show and newspaper columns. Other interesting radio women who have stars but are not journalists include Peggy Singleton, who was the voice of Blondie Bumstead on the popular Blondie radio program. Okay, that got a round of applause back there. And the cabaret singer Hildegard, who was born in 1906, lived to be 99, and had a shade of Revlon lipstick named after her. Susan doesn't have a lipstick named after her, but her voice is in the NPR headquarters elevator in Washington, D.C. Susan and her voice they're synonymous with NPR. Like many people, I feel I know her because of listening to what she said, how she said it, and what she invited me to pay attention to. Her curiosity became my curiosity. And I'm really grateful to be able to say thank you for that. A network that started in 1971 with a few stations and a lot of young hippies, in quotation marks, experimenting on the radio and covering the Vietnam protests, is now a national news organization with 35 million weekly listeners and over 1,000 public radio station signals broadcasting across the United States. I certainly support my local public radio stations, and I hope you all do too. It's up to us to support the news and the culture that we value, especially now. Since it started, NPR has been committed to the notion that a free and public media is necessary for a healthy democracy and serves as a force for good that strengthens communities, educates learners of all ages, and brings hope and meaning to people's lives. NPR includes arts and culture in its programming with a focus on local and community organizations, as well as Hollywood and New York. Its original mission statement said, quote, "National Public Radio will preserve and transmit the cultural past, will encourage and broadcast the work of contemporary artists, and provide listeners with an oral, aesthetic experience which enriches and gives meaning to the human spirit." Strong women are also part of NPR's legacy. The founding mothers, Susan, Linda Wertheimer, Nita Totenberg, and Cokie Roberts paved the way for some of the brave women we hear on the radio today, hosting shows, and interviewing government officials without backing down, going to war zones, talking to survivors of natural disasters and shootings. These women bring the news into our lives and make it come alive by talking to people and listening to their stories. We wake up to their voices, drive home listening to them, and now we have a star in the Hollywood Walk of Fame to celebrate them all through Susan. Thank you.
Before we introduce our next speaker, we have a few celebrities in the audience who are here today supporting Susan. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a round of applause for David Green, host of Morning Edition. Elsa Chang, host of All Things Considered. Tanya Mosley, host of Here and Now. Sam Sanders, host of It's Been a Minute. And last but not least, Gabrielle Carderis, actress and SAG-AFTRA president. I would also like to give a shout out to the chairperson of the board of the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce, president and founder of the Hollywood Museum, and vice chair of the California Film Commission, Donnell Dadigan. And a very special shout out to our men in blue, our LAPD officers who are always here supporting the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Thank you. Now it's time to hear from our second special guest speaker. Our next speaker is an actor who works in film, television, and theater. He was recently seen in the Showtime Roger Ailes series, The Loudest Voice, playing Bill Shine. Other recent credits include The Affair, Nashville, Parenthood, and Drop Dead Diva. Let's give him a round of applause. Next year, he will be seen in Marvel Disney Plus series WandaVision. So please help me welcome to the stage our honorary son, actor Josh Stamberg.
Hi, thanks. It's so nice not to be playing a bad guy for a minute up here on the podium. I think there's a big thing happening around the country today, but I've decided to dub this particular day Super Zoos Day. She's called Zuzu by my granddaughter, so we'll go with Super Zoos Day. I just wanted to give some memories of what it was like as a kid growing up with a mom like Susan Stamberg. There was a button on a console that said cough. I wore that thing out. There were big headphones, cigarettes, a dark room filled with flashing lights, a giant digital clock, and lots of confusing excitement. I had to stay very quiet, which was a tall order for a very little person, but made easier by the wonder of watching my mom at the center of the universe. Just remember, she always said, and she will say it later today and for all the days that follow, mothers are always right. It was tough to argue in that small electrified room, tough to argue in any room. NPR in the early 70s was a place with a giant, brand new Xerox machine. I spent hours copying my hand while my mom was busy writing stories. There was a huge snack machine with the best snacks in the world. There were people who seemed a little bit older than me who were very focused, very busy, having what seemed to be a lot of fun. I learned to splice a little tape. I typed on an electric typewriter. I watched my mom drink Tab, eat almonds, chain smoke, early health reformer. She's often called the founding mother of NPR, but I call her the founding mother of me. It's such a special day as son and as fan. My mom has been the greatest teacher of my life. She's endowed me with these gifts of curiosity and optimism and wonder, the same gifts that she shares with all of you and all the listeners of NPR. Her passion for knowledge extends well beyond news and journalism. It reaches for the humane, that which connects us all. The simple, wondrous joys of being human, and always with that little bit of Susan Stamberg twinkle. Thousands, very big T here, thousands of stories reaching millions of people, making us all feel alive and smarter, making sense of the chaos across the airwaves. It's why I'm here in Hollywood, like so many of us, searching for meaning in the stories. And today, and for all those that follow, it's why Susan Stamberg is here on the 6300 block of Hollywood Boulevard, joining the ranks of those other uniquely human storytellers. I am so fortunate to have you as a mother. And I'm so grateful to have a day when we can admire you collectively. Congrats, Ma.
Thank you so much, Josh. And it's now I'd like to welcome to the stage a friend of the Walk of Fame, our Los Angeles City Council member, Mitch O'Farrell.
Thank you so much, Rana. Let me first of all thank the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce for giving us a space that admirers of Susan Stamberg can come to, one space from all over the world, and celebrate their new favorite star. So I want to welcome everyone to the heart of the 13th District and to the heart of Hollywood. And today we're celebrating the very definition of someone who magnificently represents the fourth branch of government. Has there ever been a better or more appropriate time to recognize the fourth branch of government than today? Susan Stamberg, for years, has been at the forefront of documenting the American story and truth-telling. In 2014, the then president and CEO, Yarl Mohn of NPR, in a Sarasota Magazine interview, quoted, "Susan's interviewing style became the hallmark of the NPR sound: personal, fair, relaxed, and authoritative. She demonstrated that the intelligent listener deserved to be recognized and rewarded by being treated with respect." Susan's own quote in that same article, "I'm just riddled with curiosity. I always want to ask, how come? Or what makes it work? Well, that comes through in all of your storytelling, in all of your interviews, with such luminaries as had been mentioned previously. What I think about you when I listen to your interviews is that you coax the listener to look much deeper below the surface and reveal the yearnings that stir in all of our spirits. And that's your universal appeal to your listeners. And I think that's why we're on the cusp of celebrating you with 50 years in journalism and your magnificent accomplishments. It's a real honor to stand here with you and be able to say a few words about you and what you mean to the city of Los Angeles. Congratulations, Susan Stamberg, on your Walk of Fame star.
That's exciting. Thank you so much, Mitch. And on behalf of the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce, we now declare today Susan Stamberg Day in Hollywood. As Josh had declared today Super Tuesday, we declare today Hollywood Day, Susan Stamberg Day. Congratulations, Susan. And now it's the time you all have been waiting for. It's time to hear from our honoree. So, ladies and gentlemen, may I present to you Susan Stamberg.
Hi, you guys. I didn't see you. Well, I told Annette in thanking her for coming, and I told my son that I was sure it would be a day on which I had to go on a hunt for one of my late mother's beautiful embroidered linen handkerchiefs. And dang, I couldn't find it, but I've needed it at least 4 times so far. Thanks, all of you. What wonderful remarks you made. I so appreciate it. And Josh Stamberg, you did not embarrass me. Why not? I told you that. I told you it was possible. Well, I have to say, this is the superest Tuesday I have ever had. And show of hands, who's voted so far? Oh, look at how wonderful. As for the rest of you, you know what Bernie Sanders would say about not voting. It's an amazing day for me. And I give huge thanks to the Chamber of Commerce, the Walk of Famers, and there were 3 people, key people, I just wanted to call out at the beginning here, who labored in behalf of our all being here. First of all, Paul Hager, who I think of. Could you stand up, please? I think of him as, he's NPR's guardian angel. Whenever we've really needed an angel, in stepped Paul. You were our president pro tem for a while during very difficult times. You were chairman of our board. You sat on our board for, what is it, almost as long as I've been at NPR, about 110 years, has it been? Thank you for everything you've done. And he's made this day possible for all of us. The second is a name you may not be that familiar with, Angie Hamilton Lowe. Where are you? Stand up. Since this is angelic conversation, she is the angel of NPR West. She makes that incredible machine run On time, off time, it doesn't matter. It runs happily, and it's gorgeously oiled. And she creates an atmosphere which is such a joy to work in. And thank you for every itsy-bitsy detail that you were responsible for here today. And the third one, still on the angel theme, Mr. Sonari Glinton. Please stand up. He was the one who started this truck rolling. He decided there needed to be a name on the street, and maybe it ought to be mine. And you did a lot of heavy lifting from the beginning on this. And I'm very grateful to you, and I'm so glad you're here today. I have a little something for you later. I need my water. Can somebody, Josie? I'm sorry. Okay. Oh, can I do that? Sure. Hold on, folks. To all of you. There's so many people here from so many different parts of my life. My wonderful son, of course. My grandgirls. If you want to stand up, it's fine. If you don't feel like it, it's fine too. Lena and Vivian. My longest friend, Debbie, and her dear, dear husband, who've come here all the way west from the East Coast in order to be here today. There are the Sue's girls. Where are you, women? There they are. Two of, I don't know how many of you there were over the years who served as my assistants, and they kept me sane forever and ever, most of the time. NPR colleagues, you've met some of them. There are others you haven't met, but they've been absolutely imperative to the daily work that we do, and they did the same. They kept me sane, or they drove me a little crazy. It all depended on the day, my mood, whatever. And there's a native New Englander here who has come into my life to share food, substance, even laundry, and I'm better for that. You know, I never had a sweet 16 party. I never had a bat mitzvah. That's a Jewish girls' party that they do. But this, you know, that circumvents all of them. It makes up for it. This is like the Oscars with better seats. Did you ever go to the Oscars, any of you? I went once. That's as much as you need to know until you all get your own Oscars in time. But they sit you up in what the French call paradise, the highest seats in the house, and you're sitting there with the cousins of the animators. Sorry if there are any animators' cousins here. You know what I mean. Lousy seats. But this is fantastic. It's a terrific honor. But forgive me, there is an omission. It's very kind that my name is on that star. But the honor really goes to NPR. First of all, it's shorter. It's only 3 letters. And also public radio, which is, I know it's an old-fashioned, old-fangled medium, but it's the medium of my heart. And it's really the medium in which I've spent my entire career, and which I listen to every day, all day long. It means everything to me. Yes, I was here in it from the very beginning. We had something like 70 people on staff, including only 5 reporters. We had maybe 70 member stations, maybe, if we were lucky, 70 listeners. And that was before my mother moved from the block in New York, where you could get the NPR in those days, and to Washington, D.C., so she became daily. But it's certainly a great privilege to have helped us to grow. And I have to tell you, we were really ambitious from the beginning, skinny and scrawny as we were, but we never could have dreamt that we would eventually become the major source of news and information electronically for so many people in this country. NPR carries that responsibility with enormous care and great pride. There's nothing fake about our news. It's the real and true product of dedicated, tough-minded reporting for hours every single day. year after year without compromise, plus a few laughs, and yes, sometimes weird sounding recipes. Nonetheless, we're there, day after day. In the late 1800s, there was good sound effect for a story, but not when you're trying to give a speech. Danny, right? You turned off the mic for that. My producer, Danny Hayek, is here. Today he's the official NPR photographer. There was a journalist in Chicago in the late 1800s named Finley Peter Dunn, and he wrote words that became a creed of journalism. He said, "The job of a newspaper is to comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable." American newspapers have very sadly folded, or they've shrunk, but the airwaves remain. Somebody told me years ago that everything that we broadcast lingers in the atmosphere somewhere in space forever. I love that. But turns out it's not true. I thought I'd check before I came to see you. On the other hand, in journalism, we say, never let facts get in the way of a good story. So I've told you that story this morning. It's a good one, and I love it. I love the idea that something as evanescent as our sound waves can continue carrying the truth and exposing falsehood and upholding democracy. A great comedian and broadcaster of my childhood, and I know his star is here on one of these pavements, Fred Allen, said something wonderful. He said, "Radio is as lasting as a butterfly's cough." NPR and public radio, I think, give the lie to Fred Allen every single day. And now there's a star on the Hollywood Boulevard to prove it. Thanks all of you for being here. Thank you for this program.
So continue cheering and join us in the celebration as we unveil the star for our newest Walk of Famer. Let's hear it again, one more time for Susan Stamberg. Proudly welcome to the Hollywood Walk of Fame, Susan Stamberg.
We're over here. Okay, straight ahead, folks. Straight ahead. Shadows are off. You're in the shadow. Straight ahead one time. By herself, Anna, by herself with the flag. There you go. All right, sister, straight ahead. Looking this way. Susan, can you turn this way? To your right.
Are you still alive? Alright, I'll like wave my hand in front of your camera right now. The lighting was great at the podium.